It's another day. The truck was dead as and I think, oh yeah, 11.2 volts. Alternator doesn't look like it's charging. I'm gonna have to look at that. But I had the breakaway cable unplugged all night just in case, and I'm not gonna do that ever again. All right, so for anyone wondering if the Noco Boost GB70 is worth it, absolutely. Started this truck right up. Now, the alternator wasn't charging. It was like an 11, well, actually I think it was, because the voltage is down to 9, so I do think it was charging. I'm gonna let this thing run for a little while, but yeah, voltage is down to 8.3 right now. That's low. I'm trying to get it to come up, but I don't know if there's something wrong with the alternator or whatnot. That was a bad idea leaving that unplugged last night. But I was like, well, I'm on a hill anyway, so I put it in reverse and I pop started it and then pulled back into my spot. So I'm gonna sit here for a little bit and hopefully the voltage comes up a little bit. All right, so you guys saw in the last video, I did not install the external voltage regulator, and I should have, because I realized the reason it was reading 11.2 volts was because my jump pack was actually connected. Once the jump pack wasn't connected, now it's only reading 9. Now it's down to like 7. So I really need to just fix this. Okay, so I'm just gonna put the external voltage regulator in it. I can neaten it up later. I just want to get like the general wiring for it done. So yeah, I'm gonna get to doing that, and I want to go get some more loom at some point. But I think, so I've been sitting for, which I just drove from the pilot to the rest area. It was like half a mile, personal conveyance. I've been sitting for 22 hours now. I don't plan on leaving until midnight, which would actually put me right at about 34, which would be pretty sweet. So then I just get all my hours back. But I don't know how long I'm gonna be sitting in Minnesota, because when we get the trailer, we gotta do some work to it with the boards, so get them sealed and everything. But I don't know, so let's get this going. All right, so there, right there is where we're gonna put it. I think that's a pretty decent spot because it's out of the way. Might paint it black at some point, we'll see. But I'm gonna run the wiring. One of them needs to be switched, and then the other one, I gotta figure it out. I downloaded a thing on my phone. It tells me, so that should be pretty sweet. So ignore the sloppiness, I am gonna loom it. So we got the 2 wires, they come back down this way, and they will be loomed soon. The bottom one is the switched power, if you guys can see down there. You guys can see the bottom one is switched, the top one is just directly from this, and then where they're connected in, a 3rd wire comes back, and then this one will go to the fuse box, running along all this, and that will be our switched power, and that will go right into here. And then, oh, you guys can't see it. So there's 3 wires coming out of the firewall from before. Those wires I'm going to loom with that wire that I'm running along here, so it'll all be nice and pretty. That's because that's how we're doing it from now on. And the batteries are dead, so I'm using the soldering iron. The generator actually has been firing up and working, but all the motor mounts are fucked. So no motor mounts, it's just sitting there, so I shut it off just in case. I don't know if it's gonna get too hot and blow the gas tank up. I don't know how any of that works, because the exhaust is right up against that wall. So I start it just long enough to get this warmed up, solder, and then boom, throw this. And man, I can't wait to be done with all this stuff, because this is going in the trash. I'm gonna have a new setup for fuses and whatnot. You know, maybe I'll make something for up here. So we shall see. But I just need to run that one more wire, and then we're done for the day. And then possibly, I think after that I'm gonna go get some wire loom and redo the whole thing in loom, because it's gonna look nice. Also, not this side. Let's see how the other side looks. What do you guys think without the fender flares? I feel like I kind of like it. I like it without the fender flares now. So it's like you kind of get used to something and you want to change it up. But you guys can see the damage that it leaves. So let me know when we get it painted with the Mega Cab flares, should I throw the flares back on, or should I leave it off? Because I don't want to damage the paint. You guys let me know. So I just hooked it up as a temporary. I just kind of stuck it in the fuse to see if it was actually going to work. And by the sounds of this, I would say that we have a charging alternator. So let's wait and see what the tuner actually says, because if that says anything too high or too low, well then we're kind of screwed. But I want it to be, the factory would always charge at like 15 volts. It was like 14.8, 15. That's just both of my third gens, they both did it. Let's see what this does. I think it should be right around like 14.5. So we shall see. Been sitting here for like 30 seconds. Would you look at that? We got 13.3. That means that it's charging. So it is gonna take some time to charge all 3 batteries, because there's 3 batteries. There's 2 up front and 1 on the trailer. So that kind of sucks, but I think now I'm gonna shut it off and then I'm gonna redo the wiring. Also, some of the wiring that I ripped out last night, there's a wire under the dash that's not hooked up. I don't know what P1 means. And that tells me that since I turn the lights on, the dash lights don't come on. That's what that was for. So I'm gonna go hook that up as well. All right, so I went through, it is all done. Made the wire harness from there, and you can see that there's a wire that actually comes back from the bottom post that runs along into the fuse box here. And like I said, I don't know why I need to stress this, but we're gonna loom everything. So this one here, this is straight power. I think this one's for the gauges, so I am gonna end up getting one of these ATA fuses in here. But you can see one of these ATA fuses turns on with the lights. That's the dimmer for the gauges, and that's the instrument cluster power, so that we get lights when we turn on the headlights. The bottom one here is keyed on power. One of them goes to the alternator and one of them goes to the gauges up there. So we will neaten this up. So there's 2 wires coming out of each, and then there's one for this, for the all the time power, which I could put it to the battery. I do want to avoid that just because I want everything to be clean. Like even all of this, everything here is going to get loomed, everything. So I wish that I would have showed you guys what it looks like down underneath. I got everything down under here all kind of sort of neat. I want to get it cleaner. We're going to keep going at it. I have like little clamps and stuff to hold certain wires and whatnot. I think this is going to look really, really good once we get everything loomed. And then from there, we start doing some engine stuff. So I'm probably going to go at some point and buy a backup engine just so that I can start doing things to that. Now, I want to make mention, so I've been driving this thing and there isn't any coolant in there, and there isn't any coolant in the radiator. So that tells me it looks like it isn't pressurizing that and then leaking. I think that might have just been too full. So I have no idea at this point. We definitely have coolant going somewhere. Now we got to figure out where, but we'll figure that out at some point. I'm not worried about it right now. Like I said, I will get a backup engine because I want powder coated valve covers. I want powder coated, like all of this. I want everything nice, possibly go get a nice exhaust manifold. I definitely want to do something about the wiring here. I'll probably end up going through and looming all of that as well. I retaped a lot of the wiring down here on the factory harness. It's coming together. Everything is getting a lot nicer. Wow, it's getting windy. I'm gonna close this. Everything's getting a lot nicer, and the generator worked wonders, even though for some reason the one day it wouldn't start. Now it starts, and it's weird. I don't know why it's starting now, but it wouldn't the other day. So I'm gonna get my hands washed, and I'm probably gonna go get a shower. It's just gonna keep getting nicer and nicer. That's just how we're gonna do it. I'm also looking for a set of 285 7017. I'm gonna get the same tires that I have now, even though I said I wasn't going to. I'm gonna get them because I guarantee you I can see 50,000 miles out of these tires. But this time I'm at 45,000, and the back should last right to about 50,000. So I want to do it again, but this time actually watch the air pressures and rotate them when I'm supposed to. So we should be able to get at least 50, 55, 60,000 miles out of these mud tires. That would be pretty sweet. So anyone who says I can't do it, watch me. All right, so truck is probably dead as shit. I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm not worried about it right now. I am gonna go get a shower. So I kind of like this 4-wheel drive shifter here. I made an opening down here, and all my sunglasses and regular glasses, that all fits down in there. So now I don't need to worry about storing them up here because now I put my GoPro thing here, and then look at that. So you can see that's really bad. Like, yeah, it's really bad. So I don't know if that's going to be a problem because that's about the size of a quarter, but apparently it's only a violation if it's bigger than a quarter. So I'm not too worried about it. All right, so let's get out and do our pre-trip. That's what we're doing right now. I want to make mention of something. I did a video a while back of me telling people how to shift their NV5600 without a clutch and do it correctly. And I had a lot of I'm gonna say it, there was some pretty dumb comments on there. Those comments had to say things like, oh, you're gonna break it, this and that, it's not made for it. Explain to me why my transmission is the only original part left in my truck at 503,000 miles. The engine died, 2 transfer cases, and the rear end went out. The front end also went out. Explain to me why shifting without the clutch, my transmission is still the only original piece in here. I don't understand it. You know, people are weird. I'm gonna get out. We are gonna go do our pre-trip, make sure everything works. I don't know how well the truck's gonna start because it's probably dead. No fender flares. Kind of looks, I don't know, kind of looks neat without it. We'll see what it looks like with the mega cab flares. Got our breakaway plugged in, everything taken care of. Oh, that's why there's no power to that. So, yeah, let's just, you know, make sure everything's good and whatnot. Make sure nobody stole our license plate. You know, I could have run that generator too. But, yep, license plate's still there. That's kind of janky. Reefer. So, if you're wondering why I pulled in instead of backed in, it's because the sun was that way, and yeah, I really just didn't want the sun to be in my eyes. So, yeah, I do know how to back in a trailer, believe it or not, but now we're gonna get this thing started. Let's see if it starts. First, dead batteries. Yeah, they were so dead the gauge was blue. Dead batteries, but is what it is. We're gonna do just fine. We're gonna do fine. The batteries are gonna charge up. It's gonna be all right. Let's get going. So the external regulator is kind of weird. Sorry if you guys can't see me, because usually when the truck is regulating the voltage, when the ECU is regulating voltage, it'll usually be about 15, right? So right now, the external regulator is at about 13.3. So that's normal because the batteries were dead, but it definitely should shapen itself up once we start hitting the road. I think we'll probably see realistically 14.5 tops, but I don't remember because I did run an external regulator before I put the crank sensor in. Now that I have the crank sensor, you know, now I'm running, I don't remember what it was. So we shall see when we hit the road. It's about 41 degrees. Wow, fuel here is expensive. $3.65 for diesel. I am glad that I have 75% left. All right, so I figured out exactly what it'll charge at. It's going in between, actually, I'll just show you guys. Here's basically what it's doing. I don't remember it doing that before, but it started at 13.3 and it started working its way up as the battery was charging. So, but it hasn't gone above 15.3. Just every time it hits that number, it backs itself off. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna shut this thing off and yeah, we drove 210 miles. Now we're gonna get fuel. They got 338 miles to go. I do need to put some coolant in it. I have no idea where the coolant's going, to be honest. The reservoir is completely empty. There's no coolant, because I drained the reservoir and then now there's no coolant in the radiator. Well, she just shut off. Okay. Well, I guess it just shut off for me, whatever. It did this the other day too. That was kind of weird, but whatever, I don't even care. Turn the key on for a hot second, let the fuel pressure build. I wonder if the fuel pump's even on, to be honest. That carrier's about shot. It's still holding on for dear life, but... Ooh, it might start. Ooh. It started. get started. All right, we're pulling through the Colorado scale house. Funny enough, I noticed since I put the external voltage regulator in, the RPMs haven't been freaking out. So who knows? I don't know, maybe we'll just keep the thing. It's doing that thing again where sometimes it'll like start misfiring and spewing white smoke and wanting to shut off. Not that it's a big deal. Also, the crank sensor went out again, so I don't even understand the logic here. Like, it works sometimes and not other. Yeah, there it goes. Now it's spewing. I'm like floored. And it's just holding. Tell you what, guys, I'll bet you I know what it is, because this problem I had before when I didn't wire up the crank sensor. So, there's an in-tank fuel pump. No crank sensor means no in-tank fuel pump. So that means that the pump on the side of the block is being forced to suck through the fuel pump in the tank that's not doing anything. I'm assuming that's what it is. I bet you any money says I turn the key off and turn it back on and it fixes the problem for 30 seconds and then does it again. That's an easy fix though. I might just end up wiring that relay to the keyed on power and make the ECU not worry about anything. So the only thing that's gonna matter if the crank sensor goes out is the AC. Because without the crank sensor, the AC won't work either. So, but between the fuel pump and the alternator, I think we can work this out. I'm wondering if it's just a defective sensor though. Somebody had made mention to me that the sensor that I bought was the wrong one just because of the part, like, just because I got it from AutoZone as opposed to like the dealership. So, that could be it too. All right, so that's definitely what it is. I turned the key off and turned it back on, and it felt like the truck just gained 100 horsepower. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. All right, so I just need to wire in the fuel pump to keyed on power as opposed to ECU power. That's easy enough. I can deal with that. It's pretty simple. So the further along I go on this, the more I'm making the engine rely less on the ECU, like alternator and fuel pump. Like, between those two things, there's absolutely nothing that the truck physically needs. Like, the engine can physically run by itself just fine. So that's pretty sweet, actually. So we're getting the kinks out of it finally. We're doing shit right. And we're gonna get this swap perfect, dialed in, no ifs, ands, or buts. So the more things that break, the more things we can figure out what's wrong with the swap, the more we can help other people out in the future with this swap, because I get a ton of questions on it. All right, so it died, luckily in a good spot. So what I did was I took a jumper wire and I put it right into the fuel pump. Oh. Now she's gonna run mint. The fuel pump is never gonna shut off because I put a jumper wire, like I said. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna get rid of the entire relay in general and run the one positive wire that needs to be run to switch power in the fuse box. Boom, problem solved, and it neatens up the engine bay. I'm excited for that. Hey, you're probably thinking, isn't there a sump on that truck? And yes, you'd be correct, there is a sump, but I have found that it makes a decent bit more power and fuel pressure when we run it through the fuel pump. So we have a pusher and a puller pump, and it does make a decent bit, you know, more fuel pressure and power. So I decided just to keep it that way. So the sump, I actually have that line crimped off so that I don't have to worry about it sucking from the bottom of the tank. It'll suck from the fuel pump. And if the fuel pump ever fails, then the sump is there to, I could just switch the lines, I guess, if you want to say. So that works for me. I'm good with that. And yeah, this thing, I was wondering, because this thing was down on power most of the day, and I'm like, what is it? And it turns out it's the fuel pump not turning on. Truck's over 8 tons, must enter, 16,000. I am under that. Woo! I'm glad I didn't start looming all the wires yet, because now that I know I'm gonna make this a permanent thing and just wire it right into the keyed on power. I think that was the stupidest thing that Chrysler could have done, was make the ECU pretty much control everything. Like the fuel pump. In this case, now I get it, they're not expecting people to throw a 12 valve in their trucks, but like, if the engine isn't being seen that it's running, which RPMs right now are 0, the fuel pump shuts off after 30 seconds. I think it should stay on with keyed on power, but that's just me. So, and alternator should just have an internal regulator in it instead of the ECU controlling that, because on a lot of vehicles, I don't know if you guys know this, you can take the alternator belt off if your batteries are dead, turn the ignition key on, and spin the alternator with a drill, and it will charge your batteries up. But in my case, if it doesn't see that the engine's running, that doesn't work. So with the external regulator, you just turn the key on and you can spin it with a drill and it'll actually charge your batteries up. All right, so we are going to drop the trailer now. We are actually here, which is cool because I'm tired of seeing this thing on the back. And the next thing we're gonna put on it is going to be a gooseneck fifth wheel trailer. I cannot wait to pick the trailer up. If they don't have anything for me today, I'm deadheading over there. I don't even care. I'm excited. So I'm not worried about it. The amount of money we're gonna make with that trailer is gonna be awesome. So, and I'll be home more from what you guys are telling me. You want that under the tongue?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Sweet. I need, before I forget, I need to grab my plate.
There you go.
Awesome. I got the keys in the confidential, that pamphlet that they gave me.
Sure.
So, alright. Alright. Alright, so we just dropped off the trailer. I am waiting for Sprint to actually update because I have 5 bars and 5G and none of my messages are sending and none of my GPS, anything's going through. So I have no idea what's going on with that. So, yeah, we're pretty much dropped. Yeah, 3 messages right there, none of them sent. And 5G, all 5 bars. Like this, I don't get it. All right, so we're starting with a bunch of things. First of all, I found the wire here. This one, hold on. Once you give this power, this came from this guy here, which I had the relay mounted right here. So basically, before I cut the wires, I put that to positive and the fuel pump comes on. So I'm gonna take that wire and I'm going to run that into here, the fuse box, make it all nice and clean. Not to mention, I also went and got a third one of these guys here. So we'll have a third one up here. So yeah, this is all coming together nicely. So once we're done with that, I'm gonna loom all of the wires here. And then I'm going to go over, I found a broken wire on the crank sensor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to solder that, loom all this and make that all nice. And probably run it on like the bottom of the radiator or something. Or just somewhere where it'll be out of the way, out of harm's way. So, but I like it. I think that's how we're gonna do it. Also, we found a really good fucking spot. Because like a semi is not gonna be able to park in here. So this is exactly why I decided to park here. So I'm like, if a semi parks here, I can literally just pull out through the grass. So perfect spot. This is where I'm gonna be for the night. And yeah, that's perfect. Let's get to work. All right guys, let me know if there's anything you see that I could improve on. But here's basically how it is. Everything is loomed all the way over, everything. So voltage regulator mounted nicely. You know, maybe it's not the prettiest thing in the world because there is wires in here, but at the end of the day, the goal is going to be practicality and as much nice as possible. But I'm not gonna like do a full wire tuck and do all the, no, it's just, it needs to be a practical, as clean as possible truck, okay? That's basically what we're shooting for. Also, accidentally knocked the cap off of my filter minder, so we don't have one of those anymore. All right, so now it's officially done. I cut the old wires off. These were all covered in oil. These were the butt connected on one end and the other. So what I did, obviously you guys see the nice loomage. Gotta figure that out right there, maybe zip tie that. But all of that, look at that. Nice and pretty. We got it nice and neatened up in here. And you guys can see down in here, everything's nice and loomed. We got all the loom down in here. Some of them even go into each other. ECU still chilling. And then, let's get under here. And I just stuck my hand in a bunch of crap. You guys can see, there's the connector for the, and it's zip tied up there as well. There's the connector for the crank sensor. So, hopefully that's the last crank sensor issue, but it probably won't be. Something else will fail. All right, well, everything is put back together, and I am gonna head over to McDonald's and eat me some chicken nuggets. God, my hair's a wreck right now, but it's okay. Just got a shower this morning, so gotta enjoy that. That Gorilla Tape's disappointing me right now, let me tell you. Well, actually, you know what? I can probably blame that. All right, so I found an issue with the voltage regulator. And apparently, you can't have more than one 12-volt source on that same outlet, or how I put it, because now the alternator's charging at 15.8. So I realized the error in my ways, and I'm gonna go fix that. So that should be a quick, easy fix. All right, guys, so that's pretty much gonna do it. I did go and finish the wiring for the alternator again. There was one spot in there, because I put it to another switched, and it was coming up at like 15.8. So I put it on a fully hot. Somebody explained to me down in the comments why I shouldn't do that, but I put it in one of those, and it charges now at like 14.6, 14.8, where it's supposed to. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that, but let me know down in the comments why I shouldn't do that. Other than that, that's gonna do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. Safe travels. Bye.